Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Sonic the Hedgehog here, and I'm sorry for letting you guys keep on waiting for this, the uploading schedules for the Mercy Toys at this point. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we'll present you our starting of the redo Let's Play for our channel, and that is, of course, made by Bandai Namco Games, as well as, Porygon, who also made Donkey Kong, the King of Swing, and especially noticeable for Donkey Kong Jungle Climber. And that will have to be this particular remake of the PlayStation 1 classic. Yes, I say that because today we are about to be presenting you guys our redo Let's Play of Klonoa for the Nintendo Wii remake Let's Play. Because of this though, originally we're not supposed to be able to actually do both versions at the same time, even though it might actually play out exactly the same as the forms of the PlayStation 1 counterpart. But there are some slight differences I just realized on the forms of the PlayStation 1 version than the Nintendo Wii counterpart, and that is, of course, as you can see on the options menu, you can able to actually set the characters speak in English, or in this case, Phantom Mile mode, in this case the original voiceovers from the likes of the original PlayStation 1 counterpart. But as for this particular Let's Play of this particular Klonoa game on the Nintendo Wii, I'm going to be setting the actual voice examples on English, because as you probably already know, on the original PlayStation 1 version of Klonoa Daughter Phantomile, because yes, this is actually a remake of Klonoa Daughter Phantomile, originally released on the PlayStation 1, and then during in 2008, this game has been re-released. On this case, they did manage to able to create a remake version of Klonoa Daughter Phantomile, and it's going to be releasing on the Nintendo Wii from that particular Nintendo's platform. So even then though, actually I'll get into more details on some slight differences between the forms of the Wii version and the forms of the PlayStation 1 version, and that we'll able to actually mention more details onto that whenever we get this game started. So even then though, that as you can tell, that I'm gonna be typing my name quickly, as in Sonic the Hedgehog, even though I'm just gonna have to type it in as Sonic for now. And as you can see on the actual buttons icon, the controls methods I'm going to be using is the GameCube controller, because yes, much like Super Smash Bros. Brawl and Knight's Journey of Dreams, is that this game actually supports a multitude of control types, which I'll mention more on that later, because we're about to get started within Klonoa Daughter Phantomile. In this case, on the Wii version, it's known as Klonoa.
Don't you think it's kind of strange? How sometimes when you wake up, you know you had a dream, but you can't remember it. Where do you suppose those dreams go? But there's one dream I remember very clearly, as if it was happening right now. Huh? Huh? Ah. Wow!
Klonoa?
Now, unlike the PlayStation 1 version, there is no full motion video or anything.
crashed into Bell Hill. Let's go and take a look.
Yeah. Come on.
So here's the actual full gameplay of Klonoa for the Wii. It basically plays out exactly the same game as the forms of how it does it on Klonoa Daughter Phantomile for the PlayStation 1, other than the fact that there are some slight significant changes with the forms of this particular version, or in this case in this remake, than the forms of how it does it in the original version of the game, is that for one thing is the fact that character sprites are no longer going to be in 2D sprites, because instead it's now being entirely in 3D models, because even then though, because they actually did manage to upgrade the visuals from time to time, so even then though, it just makes it a little bit more of a... I will say though, that does look really cool with the actual visual standpoints, even for the presentation on the Wii version of the game, so even then I must consider this to be impressed. And fundamentally though, this is actually the first ever Klonoa game I've actually played, because unlike in the future Klonoa installments, most notably Klonoa 2 Lunati's Veil and Empire of Dreams, I haven't exactly played those up until recently in 2013 or something like that, but generally speaking, this is actually the first ever Klonoa game I've actually played in my whole entire life, so you probably get the idea to see how this will go, basically.
Hey you! Hold up there a minute, you guys! Yo! Up here! I'm up here! Listen! I got something I need to ask you guys! I'll be right down, so just hang on for a sec! Hey there, I'm Baloo, the stonemason. Who were the two of you?
Well, this is Klonoa. He's from Wind Village, and my name is Hupo.
Okay, it's nice to meet you. Anyways, I don't know what it was, but did you guys hear that big boom a little while back? My statue of the songstress Lafice didn't get damaged or anything, did it?
Lafice?
Wait a minute, you don't know who she is? She's the songstress who sings the Song of Rebirth.
Never heard of her.
You kids today got no culture! Oh, she is amazing! And you know, since Lafice lives in the legendary Moon Kingdom, I'm building this tower so's I can get there and visit.
You really think it'll reach the Moon Kingdom?
Are you saying you doubt the power of my love for Lafice? Ah!
The power of your love? Well, anyway, we better get going, Klonoa.
Right.
It was really nice meeting you, Baloo.
Yeah, you too. Well, watch out for yourselves.
We will, thanks. And good luck building your tower.
Thanks, you guys.
So yeah, if you can tell already that every single character in this game, depends on what option selections you're going to be going for, depends on what languages you choose, this game, especially in the forms of the Wii version of Klonoa Daughter Phantomile, because yes, this is the reason why the Japanese version of this game usually calls it Klonoa Daughter Phantomile, because, as I said before, this is essentially a remake of the forms of the remake of Klonoa Daughter Phantomile for the PlayStation 1, which, kind of think about it though, in the original version of the game, except the forms of the Japanese version, which the American version, and especially noticeable in our PAL regions, it might be pretty hard to get nowadays, because the original PlayStation 1 version, at least specifically for the physical version of the game, is actually way too expensive. Whilst that could be the same applies for the Wii version, because sadly to say, that Klonoa for the Wii, commercial-wise, has been miserably failure. I think this is mainly something to do with, like, I don't know about you, but I haven't really looked upon the forms of analysis of the forms of commercials these days, because apart from the fact that, well, today's day, if you guys can clearly tell, today is the forms of the 23rd of June in 2019, and today that Sonic the Hedgehog, in this case myself, are now gonna be 28 years old, which I cannot even believe we almost got about got into the point until the 30th anniversary, until in 2021, which I think they've already established that in some of those upcoming events for Sonic the Hedgehog's future departments and stuff like that. So at least I'm really looking forward to see what's anything new is gonna happen though. But again, we'll have to wait and see what happens during the specific year. So that I guess though. So as you can see on the Forms of the World map screen, as you can see right there, unlike in the PlayStation 1 version of Klonoa Daughter Phantomile, once you finish up the main level, well, you can able to actually continue to the next level. It's like, level to level, or in this case, stage to stage. You know, just like in Forms of how it does it on Sonic Adventure 2, for example. But on the Wii version this time around though, if you complete any of the levels, you return back into the Forms of the World map instantly now, because even then though, you don't need to worry about the forms of just, you know, focusing on the main entire game, and then after when you beat the main game, you can now actually access to the world map, unlike in the forms of how it does it on the PlayStation 1 version, where in order to actually just get to the world map, especially noticeable that, as you can see, that much like the original PlayStation 1 version of the game, that we have to once again collect those citizens, or in this case, the actual villagers, as what's known on the Wii's instruction manual of Klonoa game, because I think Piglet has accidentally said the citizens by complete accident, so usually it just calls it villagers in this entirety of the Wii version of the game. So yeah, you probably get the idea to see how this will go. So, and fundamentally though, as far as the actual releases for Klonoa for the time being, is the fact that I just really wish if he'll still come back, because it's especially noticeable that we haven't seen the official main lineup in the series when it comes to Klonoa games. I think the last time we had the main Klonoa game since the Game Boy Advance title, which is of course Klonoa 2 Dream Champ Tournament and all that stuff, but that was on the Game Boy Advance, and it never saw light of day in our country. I think this is most notably because, well, I think it's because of the selling points, or is this something related to the American translation or something like that? I'm not entirely sure, but I digress though. So anyways, like I mentioned this before about the fact that it only happens on the forms of the English version of Klonoa for the Nintendo Wii, by the way, because in the forms of the Japanese version, the only language selecting you're gonna have to stuck with is of course Phantomile mode, so just keep that in mind. So even then though, as far as the actual depends on what language you're going to be selecting in the options menu, is the fact that you can either choose between, as I said before, the Phantomile language. It has the exact same voice acting as the forms of how it does it on the original version of the game. So I think that's the reason why I'm going to be showing you guys every single cutscenes of the original Klonoa game. Well, for every single cutscenes of the actual storytelling and stuff like that, but except now we have English dub and stuff. So even then though, and not to mention, we actually got ourselves the English voice actors. So I'm able to actually name of them, few of them, from now on though, whilst I'll mention more on those. Enjoy it when it gets to the next video. See even then though, that Klonoa's English voice actor is actually known, it was actually performed by Eric Stoltz, which is basically, it's like a, it kind of reminds me like a Sonic the Hedgehog voice almost, although except the fact that it's not Jason Griffith, because Jason Griffith actually did a Sonic's voice since 2005, and then it finishes in I would classify for saying Sonic in the Black Knight, because even then though, that in Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games, and especially noticeable with Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing. I don't personally count those, unless if there's a last appearance of the forms of, you know, the 4Kids voice cast for the Sonic crew and the gang and stuff like that. So generally speaking, because of the way how the fact that for that the actual Klonoa's voice, it does remind me of Sonic's voice almost for Jason Griffith wise. Because of this though, it just still reminds me of that. So I digress. Oh, what the? Why is my jump button not work? So unfortunately, soon to say for this point, guys, this is actually the first death of the entire redo Let's Play of Klonoa for the Nintendo Wii Let's Play, because, well, the only thing I sort of did like about this version of the game, more than the forms of how it does it, or in this case, the only thing I really don't like about the game is the fact that sometimes I feel like the timing on jumps in this version can get pretty much strict at points. Even then, I don't have as many issues on the PlayStation 1 version, regrettably, but sometimes I will admit though right away is the fact that timing on jumps, especially on the platforming departments, can get pretty tricky at some points, especially noticeable in some cases like this one right there, that I seem to accidentally just manage to overshoot myself. And then sometimes whenever we get to the forms of Vision 6, in this case the last Vision, until the final boss of the game, and especially noticeable with the forms of extra Vision in the future, that it's going to be quite treacherous, I feel like. So even then though, that's just besides the point. Now, as you can see on the top left corner is the fact that there's actually another differences between the PlayStation version and the forms of how it does it on this version of the game I'm playing right now. Is the fact that you got yourselves, I would say, 5 heart pieces, which ultimately though we got ourselves 10 units of health. Whilst in the forms of how it does it on the original version of Klonoa Daughter Phantomile, in this case the PlayStation version, you normally get yourselves 3 heart pieces, but ultimately though you get 6 units of health. So I think that's why many people seem to think this is easily the easy mode of the game, or in this case the easiest version of Klonoa Daughter Phantomile, just because you have more health supplies and all that stuff. And that's as far as I can say about this for this point. And I'll get into more details on another difference until later, because there's also another voice by the forms of the English dub version of Klonoa Daughter Phantomile, and that was Hupo, and he was voiced by Laura Bailey, which even then, it does a very good voice, all in all, but even then I'll explain more details about the voiceovers later, because much like the original game, here's the first boss.
We finally made it to the top of Bell Hill. Huh? Who's that?
Yes, indeed. This is the songstress Lafise. Well done, Joker.
Oh, it was my pleasure, Lord Gaudius. What's going on?
It's that songstress that Baloo told us about.
At last, the famous songstress. I'm afraid I cannot allow you to save the world with your song of rebirth. There is no need for this world to be reborn. I shall imprison you in darkness and bring about the destruction of the world. Now, Joker, give me the pendant.
My lord. Well, now, isn't this strange? It doesn't seem to be here anywhere.
What?
A pendant? Huh. What do you think they need that for?
Well, it would appear that we have mice. No matter. Lafise is in my power now. Joker, I'll leave the rest to you.
Yes, my lord.
What are they going to do?
Now then, little mousies. Come out, wherever you are.
Guess we don't have any choice.
Right. Oh my, what have we here? It's just some little baby mice. Well, this won't do at all.
Who are you people anyway? What have you done with the songstress Lafise?
Oh dear, children these days simply have no manners. Well, I guess I have no choice. I'm going to have to teach you two a rather hard lesson. Now, it's showtime! Oh, and Rongo Lango, make sure you watch out for your backside.
So yeah, you get the idea. Basically, we actually come across into the first boss fight in Klonoa Daughter Phantomile, or in this case, Klonoa for the Wii, and I believe we get exactly the same amount of boss fights as you normally fight him, or fight them, from the original version. So here's the first boss. As I said before, we have Rongo Lango, and basically, thank you for the advice, Joker, from earlier ago, which, by the way, one thing I forgot to mention about this is that the Joker's name is actually now being replaced. Well, do you remember in the forms of the original PlayStation version is the fact that they always put in a J-O-K-A, but now it's been replaced as a proper name for Joker, like the ER as the end of a letter's name. So, yeah, basically for Lango is basically a very simple and easy boss fight. You have to use the enemies as projectiles and aim it on its back. So even then though, I'm quite surprised he has never actually done any of those attacks aside from jumping all the time.
Impossible! Well, anyway, I won't forget about this. We'll meet again, brats!
Huh? What's that?
A pendant.
The songstress Lafice and a moon-shaped pendant. Let's go home and ask Grandpa about it.
Yeah.
Looks like you two have gone and found something pretty impressive, haven't you?
What do you mean, Grandpa?
This here is the crest of the Moon Kingdom.
What's the Moon Kingdom?
Well, the Moon Kingdom's a place that's only heard of in legends.
That guy in the tower, Baloo talked about it, remember? So, Grandpa, do you know if the Moon Kingdom really exists?
Well, now, I suppose it might exist, but then again, it might not. But I'm more worried about this Gaudius fella who kidnapped that girl. I don't like the sound of it. Whatever's going on, I expect it's more than we can handle. Listen, you two. I want you to go and tell all of this to the chiefess of Fourlock Forest.
Come on, let's go, Klonoa.
Right.
The Moon Kingdom.
So I will probably mention more details about the forms of the voice actor in this game. Because of this though, I wasn't able to actually research onto that specific stuff into it whenever we get to the later parts. Specifically, whenever we get to the next visions up ahead. Specifically, Vision 2-1 and onwards basically. So once again, just like the original PlayStation version, there was only 6 main worlds, including the final vision, including the extra vision here and there as well, but let's not forget to mention about the forms of how the fact that there will be more content than the forms of how it does it on the PlayStation version. So, I guess we'll have to end things off at this point right there, so join me next time on Let's Play Klonoa for the Nintendo Wii. It's the fact that we're about to be moving on to Vision 2-1 and eventually Vision 2-2, so see you guys then. Later, fellas.